Welcome back, folks. We're live, pal. Andrew Zarian and Double G here to talk about a lot of business happenings with pro wrestling and WWE. TKO, Andrew. What do you think about TKO on the New York Stock Exchange?
I like what you did there, though. I like what you did with that intro. A lot of business dealings with wrestling and WWE.
Yeah.
There's no lie in what you're saying. We had an off the record conversation right before this started. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. And I told Garrett, I said, listen, I'm a big yenta. I can't hold a secret. Little inside talk here. No, man, this was a moment that a lot of people anticipated. They emerged. They're one company now. Vince is, my hair is really off today. Vince took my good hairpiece. He was in the city.
Yeah.
He knocked on the door. He's like, I need jet black. That's the look I'm going for today. I'm curious to see how the synergy works between these two companies.
I'm surprised you weren't down there.
I didn't get the invite.
You could have snuck in all of these photos because I've been in that environment before. And my company,
you were there a couple of years ago.
We went public a couple of years ago, and that's the first time I was ever at your house because I took like $100 Uber ride to your house from New York City. I was like, "Where is this? Dear God!"
I'm in the suburbs,
and we did Wrestling Observer Live. So yeah, that whole environment is so cool. But that's an operation, man. They get you in. You do the meeting, and then it's like boom, everyone go here. And you kind of hang out, and it's boom, everyone go here. All right, now you got to walk through here. I mean, they have that thing down pat. They do this almost every day, I think. But I got to imagine for Vince, it was probably great, but kind of bittersweet at the same time, right? Because he now is not the majority owner of WWE for the first time in his life, and all of the work that he's done to make WWE this insanely profitable company. But now it is in the hands of somebody else. So I'm sure there's some little bit of tugging at the heartstrings for one Vince McMahon today.
There's a lot to be said about Vince. Obviously, a lot of negative to be said about Vince and things that he has done in his personal life and in professional wrestling. However, the fact that he took a business that derived from the carnivals, essentially, and he turned it into a $1 billion company, something I don't think his father ever thought would be possible. His father's partners probably never thought it would be possible. I don't even think any of the promoters that we hear about, in I guess modern-ish wrestling, right, that we grew up hearing about in the territories, I don't think anybody anticipated that professional wrestling could become a multi-billion-dollar mainstream business. And, I don't think anybody else outside of Vince McMahon could have possibly done this. I don't think people had the foresight of the vision to, break wrestling as we know it, or as people knew it then, and make it larger than life and really make it a theatrical, Broadway style presentation. I mean, and also, it took him so many years to get there. I think we're there now. What he attempted in the 80s was probably the first time trying something like that, and that was the beginning of this. But really, the last, I would say post-pandemic, you really started to see how WWE really, he got what he wanted. It is not professional wrestling. It is sports entertainment. It's a hybrid of pro wrestling, but it really is a WWE product. There's nobody else does it better than him. People do wrestling better than Vince, better than WWE, but I don't think anybody does the sports entertainment, whatever this version of wrestling is, better than him. And he saw it. He saw that it would be mainstream. He understood the importance of that. And, there are a lot of people that do not like this style, right? But really, I think we're all wrong at the end of the day. I talk about it all the time. You and I, we talk about the style of wrestling that we like.
Yeah.
I don't think it could ever be done with the style of wrestling that we like. I don't think we'll talk about AEW, but this is how you become mainstream and you change your product and you kind of soften it up a little bit and then you become a billionaire, which is unbelievable.
The quote I am reading from Alex Sherman's piece on CNBC, Mark Shapiro, who is the president of the combined UFC and WWE company TKO. So Mark Shapiro said, Ari Emanuel's running the company. Vince will play a role. He's got experience and influence, but he understands the role of CEO is Ari's. This is not a shared position.
Yeah.
That quote was really straightforward. I don't know if you could, I don't think there are multiple interpretations of what Mark said in that quote. Vince McMahon, can he play well with others? Can he be an asset without having full control? And what happens the first time Ari Emanuel tells Vince that maybe not that good of an idea there? That's the most intriguing thing for me. And who knows how long Vince is going to be in this role? Vince is the older gentleman in that room. And you mentioned sports entertainment. One Dana White, though he probably would not admit to being all that influenced by WWE, he does have a lot of respect for Vince McMahon, and he thinks he's the craziest old man of all time. But UFC is doing a version of WWE in a slightly different way, obviously, but in a very successful way as well. So you have these two companies who are taking this vision, this Vince McMahon vision, and really just spinning it to tremendous success. So having those two companies together is it's amazing. And if you are a fan of pro wrestling for the last 20 years and you saw UFC on the come up, and you remember when The Ultimate Fighter came out and Vince McMahon could have squashed the idea that The Ultimate Fighter was going to be on Spike right after them, and Vince was like, let them live. They can follow us. And that is really maybe the most important thing ever that happened to the UFC, was having that television show after Raw drawing giant ratings and then being able to spin it off into a TV product. It was on pay-per-view, but sort of in a niche, very niche way, and not in a mainstream way. And now look at UFC. There is synergy. There has been synergy between those two companies already. And so TKO combined, great stuff. It's almost surreal in a sense if you go back 20 years and you tell whoever was following, you tell Dave Meltzer in 2003, like, hey, UFC and WWE are going to be one joint company at some point, and they're going to be on the New York Stock Exchange. Like, he would have been like, get out of here. Like, this is not serious.
But, like, if you really think about it, this is a whole new era for this company. And it could be bigger than ever, better than ever, more entertaining than ever, or it could really turn into a bureaucratic business. It's not how UFC runs, luckily. Dana controls a lot of the decision-making in that. As the booker, as the figurehead of that company. So I think Ari is going to kind of take a backseat with that stuff. But, Vince is different. WWE business is different. It's more entertainment. I also think, and some people are skipping this, the WME connection here is very, very important. You have wrestlers that want to become actors. They want to become movie stars. They want to do whatever. This is the way in, like if you're a guy like Cody or The Miz, and this is what you're looking at, MJF is a great name, right? MJF obviously has aspired to do more than just professional wrestling. He's great at it, but he also has an acting background. He was a theater. I believe he was a theater kid, right?
Who are you talking about?
MJF.
Oh, yeah, totally. You can
see
Broadway,
that, right?
You can see that in his promos. You can see that.
What does that mean
song
for your
and
contract
dance
negotiation? Stuff? Yeah, but what does that mean for your contract, right? Like,
I guess it depends what he wants to do.
I'm giving him as an example because his range is so deep, right? As far as his character goes. Next year his contract expires, or the following year, whenever it expires, you have this WWE offer, but also dangling is that WME stuff. Hey, listen, we're going to get you on TV. We're going to get you in movies. Yeah, you're going to wrestle, but we're going to build your brand and create you. That goes a long way. And, I think the line is going to be divided. I think there's going to be a lot of people that want to be pro wrestlers, and that's what they want to do. And there's going to be a lot of people that aspire to do more than just becoming a pro wrestler, like a Cody and a Miz. And, This is a very luring temptation for a lot of people. If you want to kind of break away and go into more of the mainstream stuff.
But theoretically, being a part of WBD, and as AEW seems to be a fantastic partner for WBD, those opportunities could arise out of that relationship too. But I do see what you're saying, because I mean, I mentioned this to Big Dave a couple weeks ago. I was saying, like, if I was AEW or if I was Tony Khan, and I'm not saying Tony Khan is not doing a great job. Tony Khan is doing a fantastic job. But if he asked for some advice, I would say, instead of Tony Khan being the mouthpiece of this company where he does all the interviews, he says the same thing over and over, which is that he can't really say anything because he's going to spoil storylines. Instead, MJF would seem like a great mouthpiece to do actual media. MJF, now this was in 10 years ago when Dancing with the Stars was a much bigger deal. Imagine MJF being the ringer on Dancing with the Stars. He would have
been great on it.
He would have won, and then he would become much bigger. But then he also creates leverage against his current company by being a bigger star, and you have to sort of deal with that. But I think they should use him on stuff like that more. And if there is interest there for him, and like you said, you got that relationship with the agency, is that a carrot for WWE when historically WWE hasn't really wanted any of these guys to do outside things, right? It's been pulling teeth. It has ended relationships. I mean, Stacy Keibler,
there you go. Yeah.
And she's she still seems to have a decent relationship with them now, but she never came back. We've always talked about, could Roman Reigns do stuff? Yeah, I mean, he could, but he's also in the biggest run of his career. And so you don't want to make enemies there. If you're Roman Reigns, you got the biggest job in professional wrestling right now. So I think you're right, there are opportunities, but do they have the ecosystem for those people to take advantage of those opportunities, unless your name is John Cena? But they still had an issue with John Cena, wanting to step away. So that's a very interesting idea and part of this that you mentioned. A couple other things before we move on to the next topic. As I mentioned, I've been on that New York Stock Exchange before. Thankfully, it was a crazy memory, but at the same time, I mentioned this bittersweetness about Vince before. I almost felt like, the company, I don't really like the word co-founder. I like the word like day one. Like I was there day one. Like that's kind of a little bit more important to me. Co-founder is just kind of a weird terminology. But as someone who was there day one, to see your baby, it's not only my baby, obviously, but something that I cared about, to see it kind of blossom and grow into this bigger thing. You also have to now share it with so many more people. And you have to take a step back into, from some of the things that you maybe felt really close to. And so Vince McMahon, if he's healthy and he's still running around and he doesn't have any back surgeries, do you think he's still with this combined company in 5 years?
5 years, he would be what, 83?
And look, we saw him in that thing. He looks older than 70, whatever he is, right? And that's kind of a
78.
reverse. That's kind of a reverse thing, because when he was in his 50s, if he didn't have the gray hair, he could pass for much younger. But now he passes for older. He looks much older than his age. So, but yeah, if he's in his early 80s, is he still around?
I think Vince will always be around in some capacity. I mean, I think the company is so intertwined in the McMahons and, just Vince in general. I think he'll always be around. I don't believe the next 5 years, in 5 years, he's still going to be rewriting Raws and SmackDowns, 2 hours
Jax
before a show. Nia was the last acquisition Vince made. That was the last acquisition prior to, turning over the company. Unbelievable. I don't think Vince will ever disappear. I don't think the McMahon's legacy will ever disappear from that company. But what happens when Vince is no longer heavily involved, and does it solely run on Hunter? Depend on Hunter to kind of be involved, and also at what point does Hunter say, "Do I want to continue doing this?" I have different bosses. You never know; things change, and maybe he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go away for a little bit." And then who runs it? What happens then? These are. I don't think there was ever a question of WWE being a company of life after McMahon, right? And that would be the whole family. I think everybody realized Vince one day is going to either, go away or pass away or something. But, or we don't know. Maybe Vince is an eternal. We don't know that. He could live forever and run that company forever.
Well, it was a little sad, and I don't really mean sad for me, but I didn't see Shane or Stephanie in any of those photos, did you? Because they're no longer affiliated with the company. But you would
Shane's
think
in the city.
Well, you would think that they would be there to celebrate. Like, this is a big part of their life, and it's their father. You would think that they would be there, and maybe they are. Maybe they just were not in any of those photos. But that's kind of a weird thing, because we always thought that Shane and Stephanie, or Shane or Stephanie, would be there, and yet Triple H is right there. The game, the cerebral assassin, baby. He's right out.
He's the most powerful McMahon. He's the most powerful McMahon in that company right now.
Amazing. That was an incredible visual. All right, I want to change gears here a little bit. And how closely were you following this Charter Disney divorce, or not divorce, but near divorce that was going on that just got fixed yesterday?
I knew that they would get the deal done before Monday Night Football. I mean, this was, I think everybody realized the importance of having football on. I don't think this week would have really been hurt, right? Because it was an ABC game. It was simulcasted.
Right. I believe so.
So I don't think it. Listen, this was a higher rated NFL Monday Night Football than previous year. I think it was like 21, 22 million people watched this year compared to 18.5 last year. So we saw that there was a lot of excitement for this Monday Night Football game, for sure.
Yes.
Unfortunately for the New York Jets, they won, but it was devastating. I think a lot of that interest played a part, but I think everybody realized the importance of getting this done in time. I mean, do you remember when you were a kid, this would happen all the time? You would get that little scroll on the bottom saying, Time Warner Cable is looking to remove USA from its providers. Please contact Time Warner Cable and tell them that you want your channel. This would happen all the time. So I didn't see this as being. I think the news made it into a bigger thing. I never saw this not happening. Does that make sense?
Well, no, I think I would agree with you, but I think the difference here, and why this is still important, and why people should pay attention to this, is because streaming played such a big part in this negotiation, because what Charter was trying to use their leverage to do was to stop Disney from upcharging, which is essentially their customers are going to pay the upcharging for the ability to double dip their content. So if you think about, I don't know how many Disney channels there are still in the cable ecosystem, because I don't have cable anymore. But if you think about the Disney Channel and the Disney channels, Disney XD or whatever all these channels are, what is the value of those channels in the current streaming ecosystem? There's not really, they're not valuable in any way, except as part of the cable bundle. They are still part of Disney's giant one price for all of the services. It's like, you want ESPN? Okay, well, you have to pay this price for ESPN, but also you have to pay this price for ESPN News, even if nobody gives a damn about ESPN News. It's just like free money for them, right? So in this instance, they were like, look, you have these services, you have Disney Plus, some of our customers are also paying for Disney Plus, as well as these random Disney channels that nobody watches. Why don't you give us the ability to give our customers in this select subscription Disney Plus with the ads? And so we will sell this package for you, but it is in the price that we are going to raise to upsell, our customers. And so that's really what it was. And for Disney, I think Disney was like, okay, our leverage here for a lot of these extraneous channels that nobody watches is dwindling. So let's get in the business of utilizing these these cable companies to sell this streaming service as part of their package. And the key to this thing, this is sort of tangentially related to wrestling. I'll get to it in a second. The key to the whole thing is, think about how hard it was to cancel your cable package or your direct TV package, and then compare that to how easy it is to cancel Disney Plus on streaming or Max on streaming. It's very easy, right? And so for Disney, they're like, well, we're selling these a la carte, and the churn is so high in that we're actually losing customers per month. But Charter's 15 million customers, it'll just be part of this package that Charter pays money for us, and those customers are going to be locked in because, unless they fully cancel cable, they're not just going to cancel our service. So this is like a good business to still be in. So all of that, I just wanted to mention that because of the hurdles that are going on currently in the industry, and why it actually pertains to wrestling is because WWE is in a rights deal year, and they've made mention that, their things are looking great. We're a 52-week-a-year product, blah, 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 blah. But Dave Meltzer wrote in Wrestling Observer that ABC, aka Disney, was going to be a bidder for the SmackDown rights. And if they would have lost these 15 to 20 million Charter customers, do you know that they would not be as attractive as a partner for WWE, right? So that's why this was such a big deal, because the NBA is going to be super reliant on Disney/ESPN. WWE having ESPN to bid up your price in the competition for your rights is important for them to make the money. So I'm sure WWE is breathing a sigh of relief that this deal actually got fixed and is they're back in business. So I just wanted to mention that kind of as context to what we're going to talk about, which is the WWE media rights. What did you think of Dave talking about ABC? He also talked about Amazon. There's some note, I think, on the website F4W Online, that Nikon was spotted with Jeff Bezos, sitting hanging out somewhere. What is your overall take? What are some of the things you're hearing about the SmackDown side of the rights?
Well, I think the ABC thing is interesting, right? Because I'm looking at the local ABC schedule here because I haven't watched ABC in a while. They really don't have tremendous programming on a Friday night, right? They got a special from 8 to 9, right? They have a 1-hour special block. And then they got 2020, which is 2 hours. It's from 9 to 11.
Yes.
So do you move 2020? Because the news starts at 11. I mean, if I'm WWE, right, and I'm negotiating, I'm going to say, listen, guys, I could give you 3 hours. There's no local news affiliate break till 11, not 10, like Fox is 10, right? Till 11, I'll give you an extra hour. Not that I want an extra hour of SmackDown. I think the 2 hours is fine, but this is just another way to negotiate. I don't know. Or is ESPN good enough? Is that a strong enough channel to put it on ESPN?
Well, so the problem with ESPN is because they have live sports, this show is a consistent show that you want to be in the same time slot on the same channel every day. And with all the live sports, I think ESPN has even said, like, we love WWE, but we couldn't find a particular night of the week in which we could always show the show. Now, look at the ABC schedule for Thursday night.
Okay, I'm on there right now. Okay, 8 o'clock.
It is not. It doesn't seem to be as strong.
Well, Charo makes a special appearance as Kelly Ripa welcomes seniors and juniors who compete by showing off trivia knowledge. This is on at 8 o'clock. It's called Generation Gap. Yeah, there you go. Charo's on this?
Yeah.
And then you got a show called Prank Panel. Okay. Not the highest level. And then you got Shark Tank at 10. And that's a flagship for them, right? So you're not knocking Shark Tank off.
Yes.
Is SmackDown a good lead for inventors and business people to go in. I don't know.
Let's go.
I'm very interested by this.
Mark Cuban,
Mark
the
Cuban.
new commissioner of SmackDown. Come on.
Has he hosted SmackDown Raw once?
I think he did
Mark
Raw.
Cuban host?
I think he was
He
like
was a
one of
guest
the
general
guest
manager,
hosts.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a very interesting. ABC makes a lot of sense, but does Fox want to lose it? And then also now we're talking streaming, right? If it's not ABC or Fox, it's not. Could it be NBC? Would NBC want to dump so much money in this?
Yeah, and so the other thing, the reason why I don't think it's NBC. Now, this may not mean that much to them these days because the money might just be too good. But this is part of the problem with AEW, I think, in their ability to get a giant deal for themselves, is they have so many eggs in the Warner Brothers Discovery basket. They are a true partner, right? Like they're bending over backwards for WBD. They want to be a great partner. But sometimes when all your eggs are in the same basket, you have no leverage with them when necessary. And so if you're WWE, you have this long-standing relationship with NBC Universal, Monday Night Raw, NXT, fine. Keep those where they are. They're still good programming. NXT is actually on the uprise. And you got Tiffany Stratton and Becky Lynch tonight on that show. Probably going to do a giant number for NXT.
And listen, they're doing fantastic numbers for that show. They're doing unbelievable numbers. I mean, it actually is outpacing the expectations from the network.
Oh, for sure.
I know that for a fact. I've been told it. I've seen a conversation about it. I think this meshing of main roster talent every now and then, but they've also created a niche product that people want to tune in. At least 650,000 people a week want to tune in. I think it's very interesting. But on the AEW side, you're having a decline. It's shocking to me.
Yes. Dave and I talked about that on the last Wrestling Observer. They are sort of in line with the loss of households, but still slightly worse off than the loss of households when it comes to their numbers. So that is something that they do have to keep an eye on. Their numbers have been consistent of late, but you don't want that trajectory to keep going down and down. So, okay, back to my point, which is I think it's a positive thing for them to be on multiple networks. And then we didn't even mention the streaming piece. I don't think you can put SmackDown on Amazon Prime. I think the way that they do business, it would just take all of your, over 50s who are not into streaming kind of out of the game. Now, more young people would watch it for sure because they're more into the streaming stuff. But WWE is still such, you mentioned it. They're the casual fans product. They're mainstream. That takes them away from their overall goal. But I would not be surprised to see a show. I don't know what it could be. I don't know if it would be a third hour of SmackDown, but I could see something on the streaming network because you want to have all of your eggs sort of spread around, whereas in AEW, they're kind of all in one basket. And even Dave and I talked about this on Friday. Even their future streaming is locked in to WBD. Like they can't even take that
AEW
and sell it. Yeah,
AEW.
They're locked in.
So I want to touch on, and I do want to bring up my ears tingle when you mentioned WBD now. I do want to talk about streaming. And this is, listen, my background was technology, right? Like I've done a billion things in my life, but for a very long time, I was very heavily in tech. I will tell you that it would be a mistake today, not tomorrow, not 5 years from now. Obviously, everything is going streaming, but it would be a mistake today to take a very successful first run sports, let's call it sports for now, right? First run sports program,
yes,
away from linear and put it on streaming. I think it would be a mistake, not because because the over 50s you're losing them. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, people like my father will never watch this on Amazon. Okay, right. It's not going to happen. So you have to equate that in your decision making. The other thing is ad sales for streaming live streaming content are still not there. And we are a good, I would say, if I'm going to be conservative, I would say we're 10 years away from streaming being the flagship for all television content, first run content. I'm saying, 5 to 10 years is what we're looking at. Today is not the day to do it.
No,
You don't
no.
have the sales. People don't understand it still. There's a lot of people that are still a little shaky on it. I have dealt with advertisers, big and small, when it comes to streaming, and I've consulted on people for a couple of years ago, about 5-6 years ago. I consulted on a pretty large show that was going streaming, and I just couldn't make the math work for what they were going to pay versus what the revenue coming in would have been. And of course, then the conversation, well, it's a loss leader. You lose money on this. It's like the NFL, but it's not like the NFL. It's
Yes.
nothing like the NFL. So, listen, you're in the tech world also, right? I don't see streaming as being the if you put SmackDown on Amazon or you put SmackDown on whatever platform, that is going to be a tough sell, and it's going to expose you. And the same goes for AEW. I think if AEW went streaming, I think it would expose them. We see it. Here's a great example, Garrett, okay? They put a Danielson Minoru Suzuki match on a Friday night at 9 o'clock on YouTube, which is the most streamed platform possible. And all it could
more
do was
viewers
100,000 viewers.
More eyeballs than TV these days.
Way more eyeballs than TV. But when you're talking concurrent viewership, all they could do was 100,000. I don't think WWE ever wants to expose themselves to that. AEW, they're new. They're trying new things. There's not too much on the line. But when you are a publicly traded multi-billion-dollar enterprise, a product like this, do you want to risk your advertisers say, maybe we're paying a little too much here?
Yes.
Not necessarily them, but it's more Amazon, right? They got the money, but I don't think streaming is going to be the answer. I think it's going to have to be a linear property.
Yes. And where cable was where everyone wanted to be, NBA included, as WWE has shown by moving SmackDown to Fox with some more creativity and with some bigger stars, that is a much better product to more eyeballs on Fox than it was previously on the USA channel or wherever it had come from. Yeah. So you think, well, cable was it, linear. No, they actually went back to where there was more eyeballs because they knew cord cutters were coming, and you could just tune into Fox with the antenna, rabbit ears, right? And you can find Fox. So I think what I would look for, and unfortunately, I think WWE is actually going to come to agreement before the NBA, but I would look at the NBA because the NBA is way more progressive when it comes to reaching younger viewers. Now, the NBA has this situation with these regional sports networks that are just dying, absolutely dying, that the NFL doesn't have to really worry about, and that WWE doesn't have to worry about. So there's a little bit of a difference in the product, but the NBA, I'm really interested in how far they go with streaming. Now, we've heard David Zaslav said HBO Max, we're going to have sports on there. I would imagine there's going to be some exclusive HBO Max games, whether it's on the service Bleacher Report or whatever they brand the service that's going to be on HBO Max. I would imagine there's going to be some streaming exclusive games, but I also think the majority of the games are still going to fit on cable. And if NBC comes into this, which I'm personally hoping, because NBC basketball in the 90s, takes me back a little bit. And you get the round ball rock with John Tesh and all that stuff.
Yeah,
they may move back to a linear non-cable channel as well, and just try and see if they could get games on NBC, which would be an interesting thing. And so I'm very WWE and NBA, I think, are probably a little bit closer to what they want to do just because of their ability to draw some of the younger viewers.
Well, I could say this: live sports is coming to Max I would. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth and say Q1.
That's soon.
I anticipate them Q1 for sports. And listen, you could define sports. That's up to you.
Yeah.
But I'm very bullish on seeing AEW on there regularly and having, probably monthly pay-per-views on Max also in 2024. I think that's where we're headed right now. I think a lot of the issues here are the technology, and I also, this has to go with the negotiation of a contract too, because you can't negotiate the contract if you don't have the pieces already. I think the
Yes.
delay here and the reason why they took the extension is because WBD is not prepared. Max is not prepared for live sports. They could do it. There's some issues with it, but whether or not you're going to charge people a pay-per-view price or you're going to just encompass AEW in that whole thing and just have all the archives there and then live pay-per-views, what does that mean for Max? Does it, WWE, here's a great example. WWE is able to do $1 million plus now for their pay-per-views, PLEs on Peacock. That's tremendous. We've never seen those numbers outside of a WrestleMania, right?
Yes.
This is a very successful streaming product for them. What does it mean for WBD with AEW? If AEW is now available for essentially free if you have a Max subscription, does that number, that 200,000 number, that 150,000 to 200,000 pay-per-view buy number, does that skyrocket to, 750,000 viewers? How many new subscriptions will you get? I'm so into this stuff. And I know, we're talking about it because the merger's happening and there's contracts open and we're dedicating a lot of time to this today. But the future of AEW really relies on these things happening. And the same for WWE. The future of WWE and the visibility, it really has to do with the technology changes that are coming the next 5 years.
So you said something that made me think a little bit, because if I go back to that David Zaslav conversation, I don't know if he said this or if somebody else wrote it, but I think the idea is that they're going to do sports soon, and then they're going to upcharge at some point. I think Dave Meltzer even said NCAA tournament, which would be next March.
Yeah.
So if you do a little bit of teasing here and go, if you have your, I don't know what the price is for HBO Max, 15 or 20 or whatever we pay for it.
It's expensive. I think it's like $20. Yeah.
Yeah. So $20. And let's say you have your normal HBO Max product. And then you go, oh, by the way, you've been getting this sports tier for free. But now if you want this sports tier, which we've been given to you like Blue Magic here for free, so you come back for more, we're gonna upcharge you $15 a month, and instead of 20, now your HBO Max subscription is $35 a month. But you get this content that is sports related, and whether or not AEW is a part of that, I could see that. Now, this is just me speculating. I have no inside information on this, but I'm just trying to piece together some of the things that have been written, some of the things that David Zaslav has said. So that make a lot of sense to me in what you're saying. So that, I think that would be a very interesting play if they do something like that.
They're very committed. I say this. I said this the last couple of weeks. I've never seen, or my connections are with the networks more than anything else, right? I think everybody knows that by now. But I hear how the people at Fox speak. I know how the NBC executives speak about WWE. It's different with Warner. It's very different with them. I think this synergy between these two brands. I don't see them turning around and be like, well, we don't want to renew you, we don't want to give you a good deal, and then in a couple of years they have to go and find another partner. I don't see that for AEW. I think this is for the long run. I think they're confident in what Tony's doing. Whether or not the ratings are fantastic right now or the house is fantastic, which it's not. It's going to be very interesting next year.
Wait, so you're telling me it's AEW or nothing for Warner Brothers Media, And if that is the case, Jeff Jarrett is like, man, I have Global Force Wrestling just waiting in the fold for when AEW fails,
Zeslov.
that I'm going to come in. Global
Hey, you
Force
want to
Wrestling.
add another wrestling product?
Also, you get gold if you invest with Global Force Wrestling. We have gold
Man,
bricks.
I'm into it.
That's hilarious. So we can table that. I know it was 40 minutes of business talk, but it's stuff that you and I get jazzed about. So we haven't talked in 2 weeks, so it was a good conversation. But let's go to a little bit of wrestling, because we didn't get to talk about the CM Punk thing last week. And
by the way, I don't think Lance is doing the show today. So if you want to go over by a couple minutes, if you want to go over like a couple minutes, I got a couple minutes.
All right, you better be right about that, because if you're not right about that, we're going to get some very meanly worded.
We're free
DMs.
We're free. They're paid. They're a premium product. They're our PLE. You're paying for this. We're free. We're linear TV here. We're antennas.
There you go. All right, CM Punk. Thoughts on the way it ended? Thoughts on Tony's promo to start Collision last week, which then killed the rest of the rating. Once it seemed like once that first segment was over, the ratings went down, but they kind of bounced back this week. Their number was not terrible considering the competition. I haven't seen it super widely, but the number that was floating around earlier, and I'm not even going to say this is necessarily official, because I have not got my WrestleNomics ratings emails today. I saw 0.15 in the demo, and let me see if I can find the overall number. Looks like 476,000 is what people are thinking.
Okay,
this week for Saturday.
Much better. I'll take that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that number also was not a fair number. There was a pay-per-view. I don't think that was a fair. I don't think that it really had much to do with Punk. I think more of it had to do with the fact that there was a WWE pay-per-view and it was football on and it was a busy weekend. Man, what a fantastic crash and burn. This was a failed experiment. I spoke about it on the show last week. This was a failed experiment. Fool me once, shame on you. What did George Bush say? Fool me twice, take your mother out, and I'll make you. What did he? How did he butcher that line? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, it's still your fault. Fool me 3 times, you can't fool a dumb man 3 times, or something like that. Listen, I think, Punk really became its own thing. He became bigger than AEW for many reasons, and none of that was good. Tony did the right thing, and for anybody to blame Tony for trying to make this work, you're a fool. You're a real fool if you're saying that Tony should not have made this work and cut this guy off. There's a lot of things that come into play here. Your partners, your merch deals, revenue drivers. You have to look at all of this. And I'm not insulting you. I'm just, I'm not. I really, I think there was many reasons why you could have let him go. But if you're looking business-wise, I'm only talking business-wise. You look at these like, well, listen, we got to try to make this work if we can. And man, Tony tried. And a lot of other people in that company tried too. Maybe Punk didn't want to be there. Maybe he just wanted to be done. I don't understand how the microscope is on you, right? Everybody is looking to see what you're going to do. And you go there and you you just blow the thing up again. Why on earth? The biggest show that company has ever done, possibly the biggest attended pro wrestling show of all time at that point. You're leading up to this. You're in this. This is a happy moment. And the first thing that you do, this anger, maddened by this man taking a bump on a glass, on the glass of the car, and him, kind of like work shooting you. That was what drove you to the point of you ruined. Essentially, that pay-per-view was ruined by this. And an entire Saturday night show is essentially ruined, and now they got to refocus it. And your entire legacy is ruined now. And again, I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know Punk. I don't know a thing about him. I'm not going to say bad things about him. I know a lot of people, like we have mutual friends that know him well.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Listen, I've been there. I've been to the point that I've been so enraged at something. I'm like, F this, and I'm done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the importance of what Punk was doing for pro wrestling, I thought he had enough. I guess he did have a vendetta against WWE, and I thought it was enough for him to kind of curb a lot of these issues. Maybe not give a shit that Jungle Boy wants to take a bump on a glass car. Why was that the catalyst for all of this? That is the most baffling part to me.
Power corrupts, man.
I guess so, but you didn't have too much power there because now you're gone.
So that's a great point. And that's what I sensed about them letting him go, was they wanted to make sure all of their ducks were in a row before they did let him go. Because, the way that all these things happen, and you heard the language, the Tony Khan language, saying that he feared for his safety.
But
that was strategic.
That is, of course, it's. I don't even think that's Tony's language. I think that is the lawyers.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were ragging on Tony as far as, like, oh, you were afraid that this man. Listen, something happened back there, and a lot of the details we don't know, right? And I don't think we will know. Some people know what happened. I don't think people are going to talk about it openly, but
I don't even think he has to be worried about what people think. Who wants to be in an environment where someone wants to fight you? Like, nobody wants to be in that environment, whether or not you can win the fight or not. Like, that's just not a comfortable place to be. But
I saw a lot of the comments. People are like, well, it's a pro wrestling business. You're not. I'm like, yeah, but guys, it's not 1978, and you're not wrestling in a bingo hall that's smoke filled, and your entire locker room is filled with criminals.
Now,
this
think
is
about
a
this.
multi-billion-dollar business.
Okay. Tony Khan, as Puff Daddy once said, got money hanging out my anus. Tony Khan has so much money that if somebody attacked this man, like, are you crazy? This is
Excuse me, Garrett. I thought you were going to go with it's all about the Benjamins. I thought you were going to go take that. The P. Diddy shuffle. No, we got money coming out the anus.
I had to go deeper into that. But to say, like, if there's one person in of the people who I may, be in this weird tangential world with, the last person I pick a fight with is Tony Khan. There's no way. That man has more money than all of us combined. Like, why would you want to possibly do anything to that guy, knowing how protected he is as a human being? It's like,
Garrett,
what
I'm going to see
talking
Tony
about?
I'm going to see Tony next week. Okay. I'm going to say, I'm like, listen, Garrett said something to me, and I'm really curious about it. He said you have money coming out your anus. Is that true? Because I'd love. I mean, that's a great party trick, Tony. No, I think for Tony, he had to put his foot down.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is the Jungle Boy suspension, right? Because it's an indefinite
still suspended
suspension.
For all we know. Yeah.
No, indefinite suspension.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, I don't know if he's fired. I don't even want to spread that rumor. But generally, if you say someone is indefinitely suspended, isn't that they're gone?
I think it just means until you've decided, sort of. Like, it could mean forever. Like, I think Facebook has indefinitely suspended me because they won't tell me why I'm not back on Facebook. But, I think the reason why Jungle Boy is still suspended is because of whatever they need to sort of know what's going to happen with the CM Punk thing. And the longer that Jungle Boy is suspended, CM Punk can't go, well, they treated me different than they treated this other guy. So I think whatever they believe that time frame is, maybe it's a month where they're like, okay, like that's a long enough time. But I think I have a sense that might be what it is, more than that they're really mad at him. Though he did something that, he probably
they're mad at him.
well.
No, they're mad
Yeah.
at him.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But he did something that he shouldn't have done. But you could, if you're Tony Khan and you want to kind of joke about it, just go, Jungle Boy, just go on vacation like you wanted. Don't have to worry about it. Just go on a longer vacation. I'll pay for it.
Or it
Just,
could be that
I'll
too.
send you.
It's just such a shame, dude, right? It's such a freaking shame. I'm shocked. I really, this time around, the first time I wasn't shocked. This time around, that it happened so quickly. You know, I didn't have this in my over-under. I had 8 months plus.
Yep.
The fact that it only took 2 months. I got a message from somebody listening right now. He goes, "Tell me all your secrets." That's what they just wrote. You know, like I really am shocked. But you know what? Should I be shocked? Because this almost did not happen. I don't think people realize how close to it that Tuesday prior to that Saturday, how close to this Punk not happening. It was not happening. It was really bad.
Remember they took him out the press release and all that stuff.
Well, he didn't show up to the filming, and then they rescheduled it around his schedule, and he didn't show up for that either. I heard from people at WBD, and they're like, "What the hell's going on there?" And they were kind of in the dark for a little bit too with that. So I'm just shocked. So, but now here's the positive: life after Punk. You can't mention this man again. You gotta hit a reset somewhere. I don't know if Danielson's the reset. I don't know if that's the guy, but you know, last night there's a documentary that came out on YouTube. Did you see this?
No.
It's a CM Punk documentary. I'm in it. People send me this clip, and I think the dude, I got to find his channel. He did a great job with this. Let me find if I can find this thing. My buddy sent it to me. He's like, "You're in this." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, 11 minutes in." It's me and Dave talking about Punk, the brawl out incident. He did a great job, but you know, they will be missing that piece. I think Punk's promo abilities and his charisma and the ability that he had to capture you, you know, that "Tell Me When I'm Telling Lies" promo was, I honestly, I think it was one of the most remarkable pro wrestling promos in this modern era that we've had. I thought it captured you. He looked at you. And it was like he was talking to you. Listen, I'm a big Punk fan. I'm not the big, like, he's not my guy. I'm not the biggest Punk fan, but I have to tell you, there was nobody that was cutting it close to him when it came to his promo abilities in that company. And he will be missed. And Danielson is a far better wrestler, but he is not a far better promo. There has to be someone else that steps up now and becomes the must-see TV. That's what AEW needs. They don't have it. They don't have it on either channel right now.
Everybody could have it.
They could easily. They could have it, but they need.
Can we get the Kenny Omega babyface run to the top that I've been waiting for since the creation of AEW?
Hit that reset, right? You get the Kenny Omega babyface run. You get the Danielson. You get the huge Danielson run.
The retirement year of Danielson. Just line up all these, you know, all these great matches.
Listen, Swerve could be a key guy on that roster. Like on the top tier of that roster. That promo segment with Hangman on Dynamite was fantastic. And, you know, I watch Dynamite every week. I watch Collision every week. I watch SmackDown every week. I try to watch Raw every week. There are certain times that you just stop and you watch. And I gauge it with my wife. When I'm watching it with her, I gauge what she stops and watches. She would stop for Punk. She stops for Danielson because she adores that man. She stopped for that Hangman and Swerve, and she was like, "Who is that guy?" About Swerve, and I explained this whole story, and he goes, "Man, he's good." I'm like, "Yeah, he's fantastic."
I know how you explained it to her. You know, Will Washington's cousin. You remember Will?
Yeah. Is that kayfabe? Is that kayfabe? Do we have to? I thought that was a fantastic. Whoever wrote that segment, whoever was in charge of that segment. I have to say, I give you so much credit, and you really showed your ability with understanding professional wrestling because that was a fantastic, fantastic segment. Not because you may or may not be my friend. I'm just being honest about it. You know, but it's moments like that they need, right? Arthur Ashe next Wednesday.
Are you going? You're not going. You said.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I reached out to AEW because I never asked for tickets from them. AEW has never paid for a ticket for me. My WWE comps are comped. My kids go. I do it for them. I don't necessarily. I don't seek it out every time personally, but I go out because my kids love it, and to give them this very unique, fun experience, it means a lot to me as a dad. Right? I've never gotten a comp ticket from AEW. I reached out. I'm like, listen, are you, for the press passes? But either way, I'm gonna buy the tickets if I have to buy them, and I'm gonna go. But I'm gonna go because it's close to me. But that is disappointing to see 6,000 tickets sold, 6,500 tickets sold for this gigantic stadium that did 20,000 people 2 years ago and 14,000 people last year. It does show that your TV audience is not dwindled, but there's obviously a problem with your live attendance.
How many people do you think are going to be there?
I think they'll be over 7,000.
How many were there the first year that they did Grand Slam?
20.
Yeah.
It was arguably the most attended professional wrestling show in New York City. I don't think we ever got because the Garden couldn't fit 20,000.
Yeah.
But there were. I confirmed this with Dave. I had this great conversation with Dave about this. When they used to run the packed Garden, they used to run the theater next door.
The Hulu
whatever
theater.
it was. The Hulu theater, whatever it was called then, right? And that would get about 26,000, I think you could do. This was a mega thing. They'll get just under 10,000 is what people are telling me right now. I'm getting messages from people and they're saying just under 10,000.
With jacked up ticket prices, so they'll make up the gate with the jacked up ticket prices.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think that's a positive. I think the ticket prices were a little too expensive.
Yeah.
Because that arena, you're not in a state-of-the-art arena. You're in a tennis stadium that has no concession. The parking situation is not great. For me, it's very convenient because I take the Long Island Railroad. I'm there in 7 minutes. But if you're driving there, there's no hotels around there. What was hysterical? Everybody that flew in for the first Grand Slam, do you know what happened? They all stayed in Flushing, Queens. And where a lot of the hotels, like a lot of people stayed in a very specific hotel that was on top of a rub and tug.
Oh my goodness.
And one of my friends that flew in for the show, he's like, hey, I'm staying at this. I'm like, that's like a hooker hotel that you're staying in. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, that is not a good, that area is not great. You're not in a great area. I think some people were annoyed by the first show. The second show wasn't as big as the other one. I still think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there.
A long night though, still, right?
Yeah, it's like 18 hours long. They're starting to film at 4 a.m. and they're gonna go till 4 p.m. Right? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing, and we'll get out of here in a second. I know you said we can stay a couple more minutes, but the line from "Can't Nobody Hold Me Down," Puff Daddy and Mace is "Young, black, and famous with money hanging out the anus." So that's
there you go.
Cribbed for my line. Yeah. Okay, CM Punk. Gone from AEW. You talk to people from WWE or from the network side of things. What is your sense on whether or not he is welcome there or he is wanted there? Because I think those are two different things. He may be welcome, but there still has to be a reason to bring him in. And I don't think we know what the temperature is there yet.
I mean, there's a number of reasons why you would and why you wouldn't, right? Obviously, the personnel issues suck. There are tons of people there that do not want him there. Right now, that locker room is in a very good place because everybody's rich and everybody's
they're all mad at Jey Uso for some reason.
They're all mad at Jey Uso, so maybe they're going to take
he's
the heat
infiltrating Raw. Yeah,
but is it another coup for them? Is it? Oh, here we go. Here's a quote from Wrestling Observer regarding CM Punk. Wow, this was posted just now. Did you see this?
No.
ESPN asked Nick Khan if WWE would be interested in CM Punk making a return. And he said, listen, we only have respect for Phil, Khan said. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and tried to do with UFC. Not many people can actually get in there and do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, we wish him nothing but the best. What a loaded statement.
Nikon is the best.
Classic Nick. Classic Nick Khan. You know, him and I had a great conversation about Iran post-revolution and pre-revolution. His family left during, like, right after the revolution. My father left right after the revolution, right when it was happening. Him and I connected on this Persian connection that we have. If you look at Nick Khan long enough, he kind of morphs into me. Just stare in his eyes a little bit. If you want to really, hit AEW, I think you would take him. You want to create big business for a short period, I think you would take him. Do you want to muck up everything? I don't know. I don't know a post-Vince world. Ari Emanuel is a business guy. Is he going to turn around and be like, no, I don't care. Look at the money this guy's going to generate for us.
And so in the same article that you just read that is on the website by Joe Courier, I guess Finn Balor was on the Ringer Wrestling show, and they asked if he would like to work with Punk, and his answer was great. I'd be interested in wrestling a broomstick if someone's going to pay me money. So show me the money. Money talks. That only Ric Flair was able to have good matches with the broomstick.
No. But he was institutionalized, and he was wrestling nobody there.
Oh, by the way, we'll end on this. You see the new Ric Flair book?
No.
Let me see. I want to make sure. I want to make sure I get the title correctly. It is called No, that's not it. The Last Real World Champion: The Legacy of Nature Boy Ric Flair by Tim Hornbaker. I read the first 2 chapters or whatever. There's lots of research, lots of discussion about how he was adopted, which is an insane story.
Yeah, fascinating,
crazy.
I got a question. Somebody asked me, what issue of X-Men is that behind you? It is X-Men 277. And then look what else I got today. Before we wrap up.
Oh, look at that!
Look at this. I got a Danhausen toy.
What happened to that dude? He's still hurt.
He's very nice, very evil.
So this
thing is awesome. Figure. It's a great looking figure. I love it. Very macabre. Very macabre.
Yeah, it's a nice one. It's got special packaging too. All the AEW figures don't look like that.
No. This was with I think Ringside Collectibles. Is that it?
Okay. There you go. All right. I think that'll do it. We were back finally after a 1-week hiatus because of the holiday. No promises on when we come back. It is all sort of about our schedules, our real life shoot work schedules, because this is fun.
I'm gonna try my hardest to be here next week. I will not promise it, but it's looking likely.
Okay, so and if as long as I don't have to go to the office, which I have not had to go into the office on a Tuesday, this is essentially my lunch break when I do this show with Andrew. So, all right. So for Andrew, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.